Well, good morning and welcome to another edition of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame's Hall Call interview series and podcast. I am Will Driscoll, the executive director here at the Hall of Fame. And as always, I'm happy to bring you another exciting episode of Hall Call. Before we get started, as always, I'd like to thank our sponsors. You see them over my shoulder: Priority Automotive, Davcon Inc., Centera Health Plans, the Beck Foundation, White Claw Hard Seltzer, and Priority Auto Sports Radio 94.1. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to do Hall Call. And of course, our 2024 induction, which, as you may know, is just 11 days away as we sit here today. And today we are joined by one of our incoming inductees, three-time Olympic gold medalist LaShawn Merritt. The Portsmouth native dominated on the track in high school and went on to become one of Virginia's most decorated Olympic athletes with 4 medals total, 3 of them gold. In total, however, he brought home 23 medals in international competition, 19 gold. So it's easy to see why he will soon add Virginia Sports Hall of Fame inductee to his resume. So LaShawn, thanks so much for taking some time to join us today.
Man, I appreciate it. I love that the hard work is being recognized by so many, and I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, baby.
It's being recognized, that's for sure. Well, we're looking forward to it, and I know that we've been communicating back and forth since November, and it's amazing how fast the time flies. But now that we're 11 days away, have you had a chance to kind of let it sink in and really think about what this means to kind of your overall career and your legacy?
You know what? I was more high performer than high achiever, so I didn't really do it for the accolades or anything, but it means a lot to me when they're recognized. You know, I'm a day-to-day process guy, but to do something day-to-day and to be recognized, to be able to be in the Hall of Fame, I'm just grateful. I didn't do it alone. There was a team and a village and a lot of support, a lot of prayers also. So I just want to thank everybody, family, friends, fans of the sports, fans of LaShawn Merritt, for just noticing the hard work I put in.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we love making connections here at the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. What are your connections to the state of Virginia? Well, you're from Portsmouth. You went to Manor High School. At the time you were there, it was Wilson, fellow Eastern District rival. I'm a Maury grad. Right. But I talked recently with another Manor alum, Latasha Colander-Clark, another Olympic gold medalist. How special is it to have 2 Olympic gold medalists and now 2 Virginia Sports Hall of Fame inductees from the same high school in Portsmouth, Virginia?
Man, you know what? When I was in high school, she would come back and I was a fan of the sport, but I really didn't know about it. I was just a fan because I was doing it, you know. But her coming back really let me know that I could do it, you know. And at that time, she planted a small seed that I really didn't recognize until later, and it blossomed. So hopefully there'll be many more from. It's now Manor High School. You know, I go there a lot and I talk to the kids. So that hope and inspiration and just being there physically means a lot.
I'm sure it does. I mean, we all need inspiration in some form. So having in your case, when you were a student, having an Olympic gold medalist come back and speak to you, and now you go back, it's great to see that give back is a part of your approach now. What do the kids, how do the kids react when you come there, and what's your message to them?
So you know what? My mom teaches at the school. Well, she doesn't teach. She works in the front office.
Yeah.
Everybody loves her. I have a showcase up in the school right before you go into the gymnasium. So the kids know who I am. And I always want to show that be that person of great character, you know, over everything. It's like, hey, this is what I've done. I've sat in these same seats. I had an opportunity and I maximized it because of X, Y, Z. And you can do it also. But outside of that, just being a good person matters the most. And if I want to be known for anything, it's just the type of person I am.
Absolutely. And that's a great message to, again, pass on to the kids, the next generation. They need to hear that from people who have had the success that you have. But, you know, you kind of just mentioned it, that when you were in high school, you knew about track and field, but you didn't know those abilities hadn't quite blossomed yet, but they blossomed your senior year when you went to the VHSL state championships and you swept the 100, the 200, the 400-meter sprint at the VHSL state level. Did you have an idea going into that that particular meet that was your goal, or did you want to win one or two, or did you know that you had to sweep all three of those?
You know what? That senior year was the first year I ran indoor. So in indoor, I had won the 55, the 300, and the 500. And when it came to outdoors, I mean, because of what I did indoor, I figured I could do the same outdoor because everything was just a little bit longer. Um, if I can think back, it really switched when the summer of my junior year, I went to San Diego to an Olympic development camp. And it was about 40 athletes who got invited, hurdlers, 100-meter guys, 400-meter guys. And I was a real standout at that event. And I went there being more interested than interesting. You know, I took everything in. I listened a lot. Brooks Johnson was there, who ended up being a coach of mine later on in my career. And I just absorbed everything there and brought it to my senior year. In my senior year, I was a lot more focused. I was focused. I was disciplined. I had started lifting a little more, just becoming a fan of becoming my best self rather than a fan of the sport, really.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, got to that state meet and handled it, man. And went on from there. And I remember I ended up winning junior nationals. It was a thing where it was a competition. You had to be under 19 to compete to make the world junior team. And then I went on to World Juniors. I posted something the other day. I went back in the archives and I found a clip of my 2004 4x4 in Grosseto, Italy. And we got the world junior record there. And it brought back some memories. I had hair and everything, man. I was like, man, I've
You
been
and me
doing
both
it.
probably that time.
Yeah, I was probably 17. I probably 17 or 18 years old. And I came back with 3 goals from there. And from there, I knew I had something.
I love that. I think the title of your autobiography has to be "Interested, Not Interesting." I love
Right.
I love that line right there. But you know, for those efforts, you were named the USA Track and Field Youth Athlete of the Year. You go to college at ECU. Everything is progressing. You then sign an endorsement contract, so you don't compete in the national championships that year. Would you have won a national championship if you had competed?
You know what? That indoor, before I ran at Arkansas, and that Arkansas meet my freshman year is where I really ran. I cracked it open. You know, I ran 44 seconds, second fastest time in history indoor, and I was a freshman. The Nike called and said, "Look, we're gonna give you this multi-million-dollar contract, but you have to give up the eligibility.
Yeah.
But we'll continue to pay for whatever college you want to go to. But you have to be like top 3 in the world, or you're getting reduced every year." So it became real serious after that.
Became a job
But
pretty quick.
yeah, 2 weeks after they signed me, though, was indoor NCAA nationals. And I would have had to battle Karan Clement, who actually won nationals. But I had beat him a couple weeks before in Florida. So to me, it was like, man, even if I would have ran nationals, I was probably going to win again. That's what I was thinking in my head. Yeah, but I'm glad I took the deal, man. And after that, I stayed the year. Then I moved back to Suffolk, you know, and the environment mattered. I got away from the crowd. I bought my mom a house. She cooked for me every morning. I could really be focused. So I was able to thrive in the environment that I chose.
Yeah, that's great. And it obviously, I mean, with everything that happened after that, it looks like it was the right decision. But let's talk about your Olympic experiences. This is an Olympic year. So
Right.
2024, it's in Paris. You were an Olympian in 2008, 12, and 16. At this point in the calendar, what's your preparation looking like getting ready for the Olympic Games in the summer?
If I was running?
If you were running, yeah. So take us back to those years.
This is April. By April, I probably wouldn't have ran indoor because would have been in a longer building phase because I would have had to peak longer in the season. So about this time, April, we're probably doing just race specific type of things. I would have already been through my heavy base training. I would have already added a little bit of absolute speed just to kind of combine the fast twitch with the longer runs. Now it's getting to setting up outdoor competitions, those first competitions, which would usually probably be around May, early May, end of April. Mentally dialing in, being focused, knowing what matters and what don't matter, in an environment where there's peace and I'm able to choose discipline over any type of external motivators. Right now it's race specific stuff. Like I said, I'm doing the 250s and the 150s and getting the rhythm down because I'm already strong. I've already did a lot of speed. Now I'm just really learning and understanding how I want to put the race together once competition comes. And now it's early races. So the plan would probably be run these early races a certain type of way. And then as the season goes, start placing certain parts of certain races that I like together. That's how I handled it.
You know, anytime I talk to one of our track and field inductees, so I talked to Latasha Colander-Clark, I've talked to Sheila Trice-Myers, who went in last year, great champion from Christopher Newport. But we always talk about, you know, when you're playing if it's football preparation or basketball or baseball, you're prepping for what is basically a long game. You all are training for something that's over literally in seconds. Talk about the mentality that goes into that sort of training and knowing that if you know X, Y, and Z doesn't go right, I'm done after a heat. I'm not even in the finals.
It's intense, man. It's not so intense where it's like a life or death type of thing, like some other sports may be. But winning or losing by a tenth of a second, or one thing going wrong within a race can cost you. And it's one of those sports where I feel like you have to be as close as 100% as possible to actually compete at a high level. And in basketball, you can have a broken whatever, or football, whatever. Track and field, I mean, you have to be close to top health physically and mentally to really maximize your opportunity. I feel like it's so intense that it starts in the training. That's why I feel like certain parts of the training are so important. When I was in the sport, I feel like I trained with some people who just went through the motions, whether it be in the gym or on the track. They may have been in the gym just lifting weight or throwing weight around. On the track, just running. And I noticed that there's a way you need to prepare to be able to really download that information, which is having a mental and a physical connection while you're working. That's why I was never like a workhorse, but I got the work in. I understood the rest and recovery phase of everything. You know, I took my time, I asked the questions, I did what I needed to do off the track so that every day it wasn't about killing a workout, but bringing my best self. So that's how I prepared for it. That's how I handled things. When you do it that way, I feel like when it's time to execute and you want to tell your body what to do because of preparing a certain type of way, that connection is better. You know, not necessarily, I mean, the treatment matters also, the chiropractic care, just so that the signals and the nervous system can be sent to where you want them to go. All those things matter. I learned earlier on in my career also to take the race just like another race. These high caliber races, to tell you the truth, I would get more nervous sometimes at like a race at Florida Relays than I would at a world championship. It used to get so crazy. I used to be like, yo, why am I so nervous right now? Like, I think it was because when I didn't know how, I was prepared, but I didn't know how much effort to give. I know if it was a high caliber meet, I have to give it. Now, I'm at these smaller competitions and I don't give it my all. If somebody is giving it their all that day, then it puts me in a bad spot. But it's intense, just from a standpoint of you train all these years and you can get in the blocks and flinch and get disqualified. You know, so it's really a sport where you have to fall in love with the process and enjoy that and become a high performer before you become a high achiever. So that when you get to these competitions, you know when you can have confidence in the work opposed to trying to go out and shine and try to prove a point.
Well, the process certainly paid off. You know, you get to the Olympics in 2008, you're in the final, win it pretty handily. So as you're coming down that home stretch, you know, we're talking about tenths of a second matter. You're almost a full second ahead of the field, which is an eternity in the 400.
Right.
As you're coming down the home stretch, you see the finish line and you know that that gold medal is going to belong to LaShawn Merritt. Do you remember what's going through your mind at that point?
So 50 meters to go in that race, I look up at the Jumbotron. I see nobody beside me, nobody close to me, right? I'm like, oh, I got this. In my brain, I got this like, okay, I'm winning another race, right? Honestly, because going into it, the mental space was take it like another race so you won't get too psyched out. Internally, I knew how much effort I needed to give and what the caliber of race I was in. But I mean, the biggest thing is some people trick themselves right out of their position mentally. You know, and I learned earlier on not to do that. If I'm at a position and I'm somewhere, get the confidence from the preparation. That's why I prepare so well. So I would say it's intense, but it's not. It's more of the discipline in the preparation and accountability.
Accountability. I mean, that's a term we hear from a lot of our inductees when it comes to what got them to their successful point in their life. It's accountability.
It's accountability. And the sport of track and field is all accountability. You're not on a team. Nobody wakes you up in the morning and you're out on the track. And if you're not there, a play doesn't go right. That's not the sport. The sport is you turn pro, they give you this money, then you have to find your team, your coach, your agent, your chiropractor. And if you don't show up to training for a week, you don't get cut or you don't get like fined. In any other sport, there's other people to hold you a lot more accountable than the sport of track and field. So that's why I love the sport. I promote the sport for just life.
Well, you mentioned that kind of that individuality is what makes it unique. And sometimes what holds you accountable is the person in the lane next to you. And one of your top competitors happened to be a fellow American, and that's Jeremy Morton.
Right.
It seemed that you guys were 1-2 many times, and it was flip-flopping. Was there a rivalry there? Was it mutual respect? And how did the two of you help push each other to basically become the best two in the world for a period of time?
It was definitely a rivalry. Definitely. No doubt about it. So the way the sport goes, right, it's before you get to a competition, before you run a competition, the day before they have this technical meeting. So in the technical meeting, you have an agent for each athlete in every lane. So they have the 400-meter technical meeting the night before. So my agent would be in there. Everybody's lane agent would be in there. His agent would be in there. His agent is Michael Johnson. So my agent is trying to tell Michael Johnson why I need the lane instead of his guy. And Michael Johnson's in there like, no, this my guy. My guy gonna get this lane. So it was a lot of battling between agents and lanes at the time because we were going back and forth because he would run better when he was inside of me at one point, and I would run better when I was inside of him. To the point where that was going on for so long and we noticed it, my coach and I, and it was, you know what? We have to get this to the point where it doesn't matter where you are on the track. You can handle this and handle a certain time. And that's when I started to develop my internal clock and started doing a lot of visualization and homing in and being in a certain flow where it didn't matter what was going on. I needed to hit this certain time and I needed to get the rhythm and the feel of it through training. But when we would get to competition, it was all love between the two of us. It wasn't like buddy.
Yeah.
You know, if we were in the cafeteria, we're not going to sit beside each other and like talk and eat lunch together. There was a mutual respect. It was like two coworkers fighting for the same position type of thing. Yeah. And he come from a background where the whole history of the 400 was in his corner. I had a coach from Norfolk at the time. His coach was Clyde Hart and his mentor was Michael Johnson. That's the history of the sport. Yeah. So I didn't look at it then that way. I don't know how it would have affected me mentally, but later on, I started thinking, man, I really had to really study to really beat him because he was with the greatest of the greats who had ever ran the event. So I I feel happy about being able to crack that code.
Well, you cracked the code, and I mean some of those duels. I know that it's difficult to say, wow, that was all those years ago, but some of those duels were legendary, and they're still talked about, and I'm sure we'll see replays of them leading up to a lot of the track and field that we're going to see on NBC's coverage this year. But you're no longer competing now. But you and I chatted a little bit a few weeks ago. You're still traveling quite a bit. You're putting on clinics. You're really trying to give back to that next generation the same way that people helped you develop. We talked about kind of what you do at your old high school, but what are you telling the next generation of track athletes? And what is, if you had a message for them or for the up and comer right now, what would it be?
In the sport of track and field?
Yeah.
First thing I would say is have fun with it. Learn to have fun with the process. It's a hard sport. The sport is designed to stress your mind and body daily. It's daily it's stress adaptation so that it becomes stress management when you compete. So I would let them know that the sport is hard, but enjoy the process. Figure out a way to enjoy the process. And it's about being your best self at the end of the day. Everybody's not going to win a gold medal in this sport, but it's a sport that prepares you for life. It teaches you how to handle yourself in dark times. And it teaches discipline, accountability, and it allows you to be in a space where you need to choose discipline over that external motivating factor, which is life. So it prepares you for life.
I love that message, and that's kind of a message that we're really trying to convey here at the Hall of Fame, that yes, we honor the best of the best, but sports participation has lifelong benefits. Whether or not you make $1 playing sports, get a scholarship, it's that participation, and there's so many benefits that come from it. So it's
Absolutely.
great to hear that that's the message that you're giving them. Yeah. What is something that you are telling them now that you wish you had known when you were their age?
Ooh. About the sport,
or just preparation, just how to be successful in sports, in life, just something that you're now telling them that you wish you were told when you were their age.
One thing outside of sports, when it comes to just learning, find your way of learning and studying, because people learn different. Some people have to write things down, they have to hear it, they have to read it, and studying and getting ahead of the ball will put you ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. So when I was younger, I didn't study much. I don't think I knew how to study. And I ended up learning that I wasn't the guy who could just read things over and over. I literally had to write things down to really make it stick. So learn how to study, start studying early. Your environment matters, because that allows you to be able to make the right choices, and being around certain people will push you to make right choices. In today's world, there's so much influence, I feel, with social media that I didn't have, where you really have to pay attention to that and what enters your soul from what you look at to what you listen to, because it affects you, and listening to certain things, it goes deep sometimes and they don't even know it. So just learn yourself, learn how to study, spend some time by yourself. I was a guy who actually found greatness through isolation, being a sort of an introvert. I didn't have to be around a lot of people. When I was by myself, I really could think about what I wanted to think about, opposed to just going with the flow and going with what was around. And I'm grateful for my character because of that. It turned me into who I am today. Some of the things I did subconsciously, but I'm glad I did.
It's great.
It's a lot though. It's a lot though, because
but
the
it's
kids need to
important.
hear a lot.
But it's important. And you mentioned influence and how they can be influenced by a lot of external factors, but having influences like a LaShawn Merritt, like a Latasha Cole-Clark, who are willing to give that time back, hopefully imparts a positive influence on them.
Right.
We'll get you out of here on this last question, but we obviously represent all sports. As a state Hall of Fame, the challenge that we face is selecting a class, but it's got to be all levels, all sports. So we're looking at everything. But when you see your name now attached to the Francina McCrory's, Lawrence Johnson's, Latasha Colander Clark's, Benita Fitzgerald Mosley, as far as the track and field legacy in Virginia, and even we have some current competitors, not in the Hall, but Grant Holloways of the world.
Right.
You see your name attached to these people. What does that mean to you?
You know what? Just within the sport of track and field, it lets me know that we come from a place where around the world, people recognize this area. I'm gonna let you know, this Tidewater area, and it's just Virginia, but the area that I'm in Tidewater, people recognize this area. And they recognize the talent, but there's a stigma attached around where it's like rough. So it's hard to get out. It's hard to make it. I hear that a lot from people who are out of this area and within this area. So to be amongst the ones who actually chose a lane, chose something to be disciplined in, be able to take it to the highest level, have the recognition of people that mean the most to us in our state. And we do it for a lot of reasons, but to be recognized at home means a lot. I'm grateful. I've always had I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Gotcha.
I'm sorry. I've always kept an attitude of gratitude with whatever I've done. And I'm just one of many that's already in, and I know there'll be plenty more. Like you said several names. I know several people that I've influenced, that the world have influenced, who are from this area, that will definitely be in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. And when they get in, I'll be cheering for them just like they're cheering for me.
Well, we have a good problem in this state, and it's that we create, well, the state creates great athletes, coaches, contributors, and we're so excited each year when we get to this point, because now we're just 11 days away. And so
Yes.
we appreciate you. It's a busy time. It's always a busy time for you, but we do appreciate you spending some time with us today. And I know we'll be seeing you soon.
Absolutely. I see you soon, man. And I love to be in a room full of great people. Great energy.
Absolutely. Well, next
So I'm
weekend.
looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, LaShawn. And of course, I'd like to thank everybody who's going to follow this video, follow us on the podcast. As always, thank you to our sponsors who you see over my shoulders. If you want to stay up to date on all things Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can also go to our website, vasportshof.com. The induction is just 11 days away. Once again, I'm Will Driscoll with the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Whatever you do, participate, don't spectate, and we'll see you next time.